Hello, everyone. My name is Paul Barry, and I'm the Vice President of Sales at Flatirons Digital Innovations. Today, we're going to talk to you about remote capture from OpenText, and I'm joined by two of my colleagues. One is Chris Winder, the Director of Product Marketing for Capture at OpenText, and the other is Scott McKeever, who's a Senior Technical Lead at Flatirons, who leads our capture process. So, in the new normal that everyone finds themselves living in today, some people are much more productive working at home, and other people are finding challenges. Chris, what are some of the things that users can do remotely with intelligent capture today?
Well, Paul, it's actually a lot of things that you can do today. And one of the more interesting things that we've talked about and that we're starting to make sure that everybody understands is that the web client that you can purchase with intelligent capture, it has a lot of security built into it, has a lot of features that are the exact same as the more traditional thick client that most of our users are still using to do the capture. But the benefit is now that you're doing it exactly in your house, it doesn't matter where your users are. They don't have to come into the office. Or if you have additional users or additional use cases that you'd like to start moving to, but yet those workers are going to be at the home long term, or they're at a remote office and you're extending your capabilities elsewhere, you have the ability now to take those users and add the functionality to them. It's relatively straightforward. It's something that you can do without a lot of install or upfront costs. Some of our users already have the capabilities. They just need to upgrade to the latest version. And some of our users just need to add one piece to it. And so that's really the core message here is that for remote work, there's a secure web client that will allow you to access your core systems or develop a core system that allow you to do distributed capture and remote capture anywhere in the world from one system.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, the ability to work remotely is incredibly important to a lot of people as they continue to work from home and with other alternate working arrangements. So let's take a quick look at what users can do remotely. So, Scott, we're going to hand it over to you.
Thanks, Paul. What I wanted to do is walk through a demonstration using an invoice scenario for your accounts payable to show what the capture scanning client and the data entry client would look like. So the first thing I'm going to do is start up a web browser. And then I'm actually going to enter in the URL to the Intelligent Capture Imaging Web Client. So we get a user and password prompt. This would be integrated with our Active Directory. So the user would enter in their Windows ID and password. Additionally, with some additional configuration, you can allow it to do single sign-on, so the user doesn't have to enter their password. It would use however they're logged in. So we have a test account called Captiva Admin we're going to use. And when we get logged in, the first thing you're going to notice is that there are two tabs available. The first is create batches. The second is process batches. The web client is designed for discrete job functions, one being someone who would probably capture the paper documents, scan them in, or import them. The second would be the person who actually applies metadata. Of course, it can be performed by the same person, but you do have the capability to create access control list of who can see each of these tabs. We've got, just in this environment, a single capture process for invoice scanning. So I'm going to click the begin button. And what we're going to see is the interface that will allow us to either browse for files using the Windows Explorer, or we could simply drag documents into this pane to create a new batch, or we can actually run a scanner using this button, and that's what I'm going to do. So I've got 4 separate invoices loaded into the scanner that are being scanned in. What you'll see here is each one is discrete, but it considers them at this point a single document. We're just going to go ahead and submit those to the Intelligent Capture server for processing. So after it submits those, I'll click done, and it's going to take me back to that original page where if I wanted, I could start a new batch of documents. In the background, just a brief look, this is actually a capture flow that is being processed. So we scanned, it's going to go and convert them to a format where Intelligent Capture can work with them. It will classify the documents based on some criteria. It will extract data from them. And then if there are any verifications or validations that need to be done, it's going to pass them to the Captiva web client. So I'm going to click on this Process Batches tab, and we can see now, just created at 11:44 my time, I've got this batch of documents that has 2 tasks. Now remember, we submitted 4 different invoices. 2 of those don't need any validation. All of the data was extracted, so they were able to pass straight through. What I'm going to do is when I hover over this, I get a begin button. So when I click it, it's going to present those invoices to me one at a time. So you'll see that I have the 1 page in this invoice. Everything looks correct. I'll submit it to go to the next step. So here is the invoice. And we'll see at the top here, it's presented because it didn't have 100% confidence in the invoice number. What you can see is the area where it extracted that data from is highlighted on the screen, and the data is on the right-hand side. So since that actually is correct, I'll go ahead and click submit, and it will pass it on to be exported into my ERP or my document repository. So now it's to the second task. And at this point, what we have is a situation where it looked for the PO number on the form. It actually found where it is. However, you'll notice in the field PO number, there are some question marks. And the message it's giving us is that there was a low confidence value extracted in this field. So it places question marks where it wasn't 100% sure what the value was that was extracted. This is handwritten. So as you can see, the person, when they make the alpha characters O, looks exactly the way as the numeric character 0 looks. And it was confused as to whether it was a O or a 0, and that's why you see the question marks. So from a user perspective, what I would simply do is correct this information, and we can then submit it for export. One other item I wanted to point out is that the vendor name, which we don't have a rule on, we didn't make it a required field, it's blank, but this is a field where I have a drop-down list to help. And this is a very simple demonstration system, so I don't have a lot of values here, but I can tell that this is a specialized medical services invoice, so I'm going to select that value, and then we would be ready to submit it. Once you see the green check mark, everything is good, we can click submit, and this invoice then gets processed and sent for export. So we could click next task, and Intelligent Capture will wait until any new documents come in. In the event that scanning was still happening on that batch, they don't have to wait until the scanning operator is complete. As soon as they process through, they can go to the validation operator who can key what needs to be keyed. Since there's nothing else for us to process, I'll click the stop waiting button, and we'll be complete. Notice there are no additional batches on the screen now, so I don't have anything to work on. So those documents went in. Of the 4 separate invoices, 2 passed straight through, and then we had examples where 2 we needed to correct some data on. And now back over to you, Paul.
Thanks, Scott. That was really helpful. So, Chris, what would people need to actually get started with an intelligent capture solution from OpenText?
That's a really interesting question, because we have to remember that just as we were doing this, we renamed the product that most of, Paul, your customers will know as Captiva to Intelligent Capture. So for many of them, they already have the capabilities. If they're on an older version, the only thing they would need to do is get to version 16.6 of Intelligent Capture, or in the old nomenclature, Captiva. And really what you want to do to have the level of security you'll need for worldwide or a global instance is to have the enterprise server version of Intelligent Capture. And then you can, if you don't have the web client version, you'd have to add the web client version. And for some of the use cases, it would require the advanced recognition bundle. There's a lot of nuance there. It's probably best if they would, for your customers, they come to you and they talk about where they're at now and where they're planning on going in the next little while to really make sure they have the right pieces today and have that plan for the future state.
Thanks, Chris. So for people to learn more information, they could always go to the OpenText website to gather more info. And of course, they can always download the Intelligent Capture web client brochure from either the OpenText website or from the Flatirons website. Or to make it simple, my name is Paul. My contact information is there. Give me a call. I'll be happy to have a conversation with you. So thank you.